Здравствуйте.
Всем добрый
Good
день.
afternoon. Hello, everyone. Dear friends, we welcome you at the online class, The Secret Doctrine. And of course, we'd like to congratulate everyone who's able to join us today, who's able to find time in today's events to be able to get away from the Maya and to be together in one united information field and one study in order to be able to understand more, in order to be able to understand better the secret doctrine, a very complicated material. The study of the secret doctrine enables us to understand the system of studying the secret doctrine. This is the main objective, just to familiarize ourselves with the system. Of course, everyone who's able to learn about this material has their own understanding based to their own karmic level, and this enables them to get the knowledge, and this path is beautiful. The knowledge is infinite, and when we are together, we expand this egregor of thought, this focus of perception, in order to make the space more clearer, because this energy, when it gets closer to each of us, so that we'd be able to focus and to understand what the stanza tells us about how we can apply this knowledge in our life, how we can make them alive in the new events of today. This is the whole kaleidoscope of events. Events fast change really fast, and we need the foundation for the perception in order to be over these events. So this is the main objective of this time. And it started with the pandemic years. We have a lot of tension, and we need to be above all that. And of course, this inner balance of our own character and nature enables us to do that. We need to be active. We need to act, to be energetic, because every thought is the action. If we have a higher thought and this knowledge attracts higher thoughts, you can compare it with a prayer, because a prayer is the concentration of a fact. It's the connection with the higher world, and each religion, each philosophical field, each human being in a particular moment of their life, in a particular cycle, get closer to these forces, and this prayer makes this connection. The secret doctrine, this knowledge, is the foundation for creating the connection with the higher worlds. We're starting to study, to learn about these worlds, to learn more about these worlds and understand how we can live in them, how we can feel them, if what we're doing is correct or wrong, how we can make our knowledge, our feelings better and attract higher energies, lighter energies. Everything is simple. At each seminar, we talk about the secret doctrine by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Agni Yoga, which is also based on the Mahatma study. We do that because this knowledge of the living ethics can be applied in our everyday life. And to do that, to have that, we need the group systematic work, because it is the basis for understanding the system of studying Kalachakra, Agni Yoga, and the secret doctrine. And it constantly works in the information fields. It just confirms particular cycles, and it gives us direction. It makes us be able to perceive, to predict, and these predictions are correct. And this whole trajectory that we're talking about, the secret doctrine, Agni Yoga, Kala Chakra, this trajectory, each of these three components, of course, they have their own system, but when they are combined in one trajectory, they give breath to each other, and each system comes to life with the help of human beings. One of the main goals of these seminars, of online classes, of international scientific seminars, of the Open Theosophic School that was launched in Moscow, it's a live school. It was launched after the pandemic years, and once again we are together. We have the live meetings, we have answers and questions. We'll be waiting for you on the 4th of March. It will take place in Moscow. In other words, when we are within the system, when we have systematic studies, we have this rhythm, and as a result, we have the results. What are the results? We become stronger, more resilient. We can easily find the balance, and we find it faster. We have the possibility to get into this state of balance just with a click of the fingers. And this threefold of knowledge that is given for the 3rd century, the secret doctrine, Kala Chakra and Agni Yoga, they give us this strength and this confidence in the foundation. We can be above the events that are happening in our life, and we have the necessary speed to come to calm place that is within us. Of course, we have a unique day today because for the first time we represent the study of the 2nd stanza, Dhyan. It's an amazing stanza, and today we have the dynamic format, and together with you, we'll be able to identify the connection between all the Slokas, identify all the key points, and to link all of them in the particular sequence, and it will enable us to have a deeper knowledge, deeper understanding, whether you're outside of this ether or within it. Everyone who's in this vibration field will have this possibility, and we'll try to utilize this possibility to the full. Dear friends, today we have the interpreters with us. They're ready to help us. Olga Tomchuk and Ksenia Persova are helping us with the translation. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for providing your help with the translation during the whole seminar. And interpreters and translators, they're studying the secret doctrine together with us, and it's amazing, and we're really happy that this is happening in the world events. There are not so many seminars with the Russian English interpreting and translation, so we can say that we are pioneers, and we congratulate everyone who's able to join us today. Dear friends, of course, you know that each day, each new day is the new Nidana, and they never repeat themselves. This is the moment in our life that we can have a look at. We can just pull the string and see all the Nidanas that will come together into one single word. Now I would like to give the floor to the psychologist, the head of the School of Theosophy, to Mr. Yari, who will tell us about the Nidanas. He'll also familiarize us with the conceptual review of the 2nd stanza, Dhyan. We give the floor. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. And as per tradition, we'll start with the thought of the day by Blavatsky. It is given in the Pearl of the East. The thought is the following. Often vinegar got for nothing is sweeter to the poor man than honey bought. This is the food for thought. I'm not going to interpret or explain this thought. I believe it is easy to guess what this thought is about, because the thought itself has, or rather consists of 6 parts, 6 fields, or fields that give us food for thought. And I'll try to use the combination of nidanas and to use them in a format, in a kind of an approach that will enable us to open up this thought with its full potential by that was given to this thought by Blavatsky. The epoch that we're living in is the epoch of the Aquarius. Everyone knows that this epoch has already arrived. God, or the force, the power of this epoch, is the blue monkey. The blue monkey gives life to a number of nidanas. In its own sector, the blue sector, the sector of Aquarius, we can see a number of nidanas: the fiery snake, the yellow horse, the yellow goat, the white monkey, and the white rooster. This is the combination of 5 nidanas in the sector of Aquarius. They were produced by the blue monkey, or the god that, first of all, is the thought or the force that symbolizes the objective life, or the life that we're living, or the material plane, the material dimension. This blue monkey, or this blue plane, is the divine power that exists within a particular space and time. Of course, this is a particular kind of consciousness that is very familiar. Why? We are living within this state of our consciousness. It is the manifested world, and it is very familiar to us. But what is familiar to us? Of course, our intentions and our wishes, or skandhas, that exist within us. It is the desire to live, the desire to be manifested, the desire to have some consciousness, reasonable activities, the desire for a touch, a desire to feel this world. And all these feelings are very familiar to us. So this force, this power, is very familiar to us. What we need to do is to use our strong will to control all that, to use our reason or consciousness. The first nidana in the Aquarius sector is the fiery snake. The fiery snake gives the rhythm, the tone, the thoughts, the intentions that will make us want to implement something in our life. And if our intentions have the reasonable cause, origin, then according with this origin, we also engage our will. And this is the yellow horse. It symbolizes the law of equality, equity, and the will, which is needed for this law to be implemented by our consciousness. And then we move on to the yellow goat, which is the nidana that symbolizes the power of the yellow horse, that is reflected in love. So it is the symbol of love. The next nidana is the a white monkey, which is of synthetic nature. It is um, the god, the nidana of the white monkey, is the concentration of this beautiful thought, which has the white color, and it reflects the condensate of the idea itself. And this idea is ready to be manifested. The next principle is the rooster, the symbol of Logos. It is able to use this divine thought and to implement this thought, because we move on to the word. The thought will be reflected in a word. It is implemented this way, and it is reflected through this beauty of the white rooster nidana. It is the harmonic word. After that, there will be the creation in this material plane. Why? It will happen with the power of the sound. Rooster as a logos symbolizes word, and word is always formed by sounds, by vowels and non-vowels and consonants, and this sound is beautiful. And the next principle of this nidana is something that forms our nature. It's the black dog. It symbolizes the character, the nature. The epoch of Aquarius, this blue monkey, has the sequence of nidanas, and we've just looked at that. And it creates the new cause for our astral body. All those nidanas, as well as God, have the energy of the fiery nature. Why? The thought and the thinker, they are of the fiery nature, and they reflect this divine force that manifests life on the plane of our feelings. This is our astral body that we're talking about, and this astral body should become stable and sustainable by its own nature that has assimilated with the fire and thus has become stronger. For example, if we take clay, clay needs to become hard so that it won't break. So for that we use fire, and human beings are created from the plastic material, and within ourselves we need this to make this clay harder, so that we'll have the noble form, so that we'll connect all that and be able to go to the astral world and also to exist in the material world, so that we'll be able to have this harmony. We can also attract the world that is above the land, and this enables human beings to cooperate with these worlds. They have the mental and astral body. Without the thought, without the intention, there are no feelings, but feelings improve the quality of the thought. If we make our feelings better, improve them, we'll be able to form a noble thought that will be able to manifest. And the rooster manifests the human beings that was able to exist in this beautiful field. The age is the white dragon. The century is the white dragon. It symbolizes wisdom that is condensated in the ether within this element, and the nature of this wisdom the condensate, is that of the existence that we need to form for ourselves. It is the wise coexistence. This cause of the age, as the white dragon, is the Nidana. It is the symbol, and the god of this constellation of Gemini is the blue dragon. So as you can see, this sphere, or the zodiac, or the space, is the plane. And the god of this plane is the dragon, or the wise origin. The wisdom of what? Of the thought. The thought should be wise. That's why we have this blue dragon here, and it's in the blue sector. And this thought is manifested in the blue dragon. It is the formed thought. And in this sense, it is wise, or it symbolizes the existence. This is the age in which we need to live, and it is in the ray of Saturn, and it is the ray of manifestations. It is of synthetic nature. It is the ray of the harmonic world. It is the ray of the balance that can be manifested, because the green light also symbolizes life, and wisdom will be manifested in this age, in our life, in this particular age. And we need to be ready to perceive this wisdom. And this wisdom is like ether. It is already touching our mind, our consciousness.
We only have to admit that it is possible to coexist wisely and create this existence where the wisdom will be manifested as the aspiration for the common good, common well-being, not individual well-being, but common well-being. Then the individual well-being will be achievable. This is our century. As to the year, it is the year of the black hair. It is very interesting that the hair as a principle itself uh, means old days and death, as it's Nirana. Yet, what will it trigger in us? What kind of reaction should it trigger? First of all, the knowledge, the awareness of the fact that a human being is born, lives, gets old, and dies. So, this is the mystery of life and the mystery of death. It means that this year there is a possibility to learn about the mystery of life and the mystery of death. Of course, everyone will perceive it individually, yet this is the possibility for all humanity to do it. How will it be manifested for the whole humanity if it is provided? But not everyone can know the mystery of life and death. It means that the one who understands, comprehends this mystery, he will introduce this element of comprehension into our common consciousness, and the whole humanity will be sensibilized towards this mystery of life and death unconsciously. Do you understand how interesting? In the teaching, it is said that humanity, in one moment, will become enlightened. And as it turns out, this process is happening now according to the hierarchical principle. Because among us, there are people who are able to operate, to comprehend these notions. And this small community of people is enough, just as it is enough to make an injection, preventive injection against some disease is enough to protect the whole body, to make it work according to a new key, to adapt it to the new condition and be able to survive and penetrate to the higher spheres by changing the structure of the body, by um, refining the organs of senses, feelings, understanding, and awareness. Everything is happening in this process, and we have enough people among us who are the carriers, who are the avatars of that necessary dose of knowledge, which will be able to assimilate the consciousness of the whole humanity. Now you see how unique is this year. In terms of the months, it is the month of the Black Taurus. The whole months we live through, and what should we get from this principle, from this Nidana? First of all, this Nidana tells us about the primordial ignorance, which is in the human nature manifests as ignorance, and the consequence is suffering. Hence, the realization and the Black Taurus's realization, putting into practice of the forces of ignorance in order to enlighten one's ignorance, which means that man has an opportunity to accept the ignorance. What is ignorance? First of all, it is accepting that our personality and our mind cannot comprehend the limitless. And in this ignorance, that we cannot comprehend the uh, limitless, we can accept the hierarchy or those higher minds, higher forces, supreme forces, which can provide us with this opportunity. They can give us strengths in order to win over our ignorance. Can you imagine the strength in the Taurus, the divine strength, divine forces are in this Taurus, which we can use in order to comprehend, to understand. By accepting this ignorance, by acknowledging it, we can enlighten it or get rid, eliminate this ignorance towards life. And by this, we will improve the quality of life. This is our month, and its primordial quality or impetus is a feminine principle, this power, because this is the second principle, and with two nidanas linked to the same element, black mouse and black Taurus. Black Taurus, second principle, which means feminine. First principle is masculine. And in feminine principle, as a rule, we always have realization or birth, because only feminine principle may give us shape through which a human being can evolve and evolve as a consciousness, as a thinker, as a Homo sapiens. And the Taurus gives us this possibility. And the ray under which this Nidana is the blue ray, which requires, first of all, the openness of the heart, which means uh, acceptance. It is the ray of Jupiter, the warmth, the spirituality, the warm heartedness. And thanks to this strength of warm heartedness, we can implement this opportunity of the powers of ignorance, which we assume that we don't know, and by this we get enlightened. The week of the white rooster. The white rooster, as we have already mentioned, is in this sector of Aquarius, and it is the teacher or logos, which sits over the fountain of life and looks into the waters of life, how the people are trying to evolve or go into hell. They just observe it. He observes it, but he cannot say anything because his word is silent. Because this word belongs to God as a thought, and this thought is God or manifestation or expression of this God. The white rooster personifies the voice of silence in every one of us, the voice of our consciousness. The day of the yellow snake. The yellow snake is a unique medium principle in the constellation of Aries. It is the fire sector. This snake is called Aditi as the mother of the gods. Its essence is hierarchy, which is Aditi or children of this mother of the gods. And these children, we know there are 7 of them, and in their potentiality, they are all present here, which means that the day brings us to the point of being in the spirit beyond forms, in its potentiality of mindful qualities of the God of the fire. This God of the fire is manifested, of course, through snake or space. And this Aditi always captures the space where it conditions the time. The continuity becomes time. And this is the property of snake. For us, this day should be perceived as the principle of dragon, the yellow dragon, the being, the existence itself, and in its wisdom, in the wisdom of this existence, it should have its manifestation as the dragon, Nidana, should have the manifestation, and it has the manifestation through Aditi, the mother of the mind, nature. And so we also should manifest wisely the wisdom of existence. We should have an opportunity to control our impetus, our impulses, and by this, our willpower will become wise or reasonable. Also, accordingly to the sort of the day, often vinegar bought for nothing is sweeter to the poor man than honey bought. Everything should be achieved according to the inner tension, inner work, and we should observe the inner man, and we should avoid using something that comes to us for free, because you know that whatever we get for free is an illusionary happiness, because we will have to pay for this in any case. Thus, it is better to buy, to get something by our effort, by our aspiration, by our qualities, by our higher intentions, and get the true honey, the deserved one. So, the overview of the second stanza that we're going to talk about today, I can resume it that all the sequence of the cosmogenesis and as humanity, we are a microcosm. We only can, as analogy and a sense of knowledge, we can follow the two factors. We can base ourselves on two factors in ourselves and ponder over how the absolute consciousness, something we cannot talk about, but we can only simulate on the mind plane, perceive it. By the feeling of knowledge, we should come to the particular from the whole through the meditative way, as Elena Petrovna Blavatsky tells us about, and we should go to it individually. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. That's a great journey through the directions which brought us to the main elements of the overview of the second stanza is the story about the astral worlds, astral feeling, the mind, and this light. And we will try to get into more detail about the key points of all six slokas of the second stanza so that we can feel the directions which will help us to follow through the uh, thin worlds as it was said that the second stanza defines these directions, and we welcome you on this path and to wish you to have enough concentration in order to be able to follow us through the key points of six slokas, to understand how and which ways we followed in order to affirm this great light which will open the great knowledge for us. We should understand that all knowledge was already revealed and you only can get them. So let us concentrate and please, dear participants, if you have any questions, share them in Q&A sections in your Zoom platform and we will be happy to answer them when our presentation is over. It will be the direct dialogue online. Thank you very much. So, dear friends, the overview of second stanza, the second doctrine.
Stanza 2, Shloka 1. Where were the builders, the luminous sons of Manvantaric dawn? Helena Petrovna asks these questions, and here is the answer. In the unknown darkness, in the Ahi Paranishpana, the producers of form from no form, the root of the world, the Devamatri and Svabhavat rested in the bliss of non-being. We have a whole sequence of explanations in Dhyan that can also be relevant when we discover new facets for ourselves. If it becomes new to you as well, it will be great because the new thought concentrates more energy. When we study the first shloka, we were able to identify the main key point, the existence of particular periods of time. Some of them are described. The completion. In the second stanza, shloka 1, we have the completion of pralaya, and the key point is that the shloka describes the correspondence of the period of the end of completion and the beginning of manifestation, or the completion of pralaya. It corresponds to the beginning of Manvantara. This is the simultaneous movement of two periods of Pralaya and Manvantara. The second and the third stanzas are a description of the sixth and the seventh period of completion of Pralaya, and the second and the third periods of the beginning of Manvantara, or the dawn, the state before differentiation. This is the simultaneous action of two forces of completion and the beginning of a new cycle, Pralaya and Manvantara, merged into a single evolutionary state of potentiality of action. So therefore, there is no complete Pralaya. There is only partial Pralaya. Since evolution never stops, and therefore a cycle in a cycle is a gradual dissolution and the beginning of a new one. The second stanza tells us about the first impulse of differentiation of the space of absoluteness, which will lead to the appearance on the fifth of the planes of being. This is the plane of reason and creativity, the second logos of the creator. The seven-ray star is the notion of builders. Devamatri, the root of the world, and Svabhavat are the essence of this potentiality, rested in the seven-ray star. They rested in the bliss of non-being, the state of nirvana. This is the plane of prototypes. The key point, the second stanza, Sloka 1, 2 plus 1 is 3. When the unity of the three is accomplished, then each of the three is reflected in two, and each of the two manifests itself in every third and constitutes one within. What is it? It's the phenomenon of its genius. In order to understand these three notions, Svabhava, and builders, so that they would have the manifestation uh, on the further material planes, they need to become united. They need to reflect each other. This is the condition or the law. The first one is Svabhavat. It is the spirit and the essence of substance. The second one is the Devamatri, the root of the world. And the third one is radiant suns. They are builders. They are the creators of forms from non-forms. And they are Ahi Paranishpana. So the key point is the following. By the same way of formation at the beginning of Manvantara and differentiation, identically in a similar way in the evolution of human consciousness, these states eliminate the shackling embrace of Maya. Maya is infinity. And the gross deposits of mother self are resolved. When the three merge into a single state of space, this is the triple key, the key to dissolving or eliminating the shackling embrace of Maya. So this is the triple key that enables us to eliminate the shackling embrace of Maya. This is the great triple key. If the true disciple has it in their hands, they have the power to unlock that wonderful door consisting of many parts united in a great synthesis that we call life. This is a threefold evolution of matter, substance, and soul, developing in parallel, simultaneously, and yet completely independently. It is only necessary to establish the relationship between them in order to comprehend their unity. This vibrational impulse, or the keynote of each plan, has a special character and a special tonality. Note, a way of movement. On the physical plane, this movement is slower than on the astral or spiritual plane. Spiritual substance is created by tonality. What is tonality in a way of movement? This is just the way of moving. And the vibration are so incomprehensibly high that only the consciousness of the greatest teachers explore it using correspondence and analogy. There is no rough form on the plane of soul. Only I read scenes of the most beautiful colors and sounds, and constant flashes of the great creative fire that transforms, rebuilds, and destroys the consequences of causes generated on other planes. We can see the triple nature. The, these causes are generated on other planes, and we need to understand the links between those poles of existence. This vibration reaches its highest speed and becomes an absolute movement, which is absolute peace. It happens on the spiritual plane. Absolute movement has the highest speed and is absolute peace. So this may seem like paradox, but yet it is the truth. The key point: man is unable to understand his own nature because he is powerless to detach himself from himself, to distance himself, so to speak, and to look at his qualities from an impersonal point of view. As a rule, he devotes all of his time to observing only one part of himself, and the lowest on the evolutionary scale. Hence, in order to understand our own nature, to understand our own tonality, our own way of moving towards knowledge, it is necessary to rise above the lower. And then we will be able to see our qualities from an impersonal point of view, or raise the keynote of our state of consciousness, to raise our tonality. The evolution of man raises the keynote of every plane. The whole advance of matter is in the hands of humanity. When a person becomes more spiritualized and rises from one plane to another, he raises with him every atom of matter that belongs to this individual aura. And only a person can raise this matter as each, and it is an individual aura, and that's how the individual aura changes. As each race attains perfection, then all matter associated with it is spiritualized. And everything is in the hands of humanity and the entity that guides the earth. The evolution of this essence raises the keynote, opening up the opportunity for a person to move forward. After all, there are no stops in evolution. Matter, substance, force are continuously developing. All fully developed people are self-conscious beings. They are aware of their connection with the earth as a living being. But having advanced in their development, they do not worship this being, but simply consider him as an elder brother on the same path. The importance of applying the triple key to every action of life is here. The triad of matter, substance, and soul will certainly manifest and reveal the mystery of action, whatever it may be. Matter, substance, and soul are the same as matter, force, and consciousness. Substance is power. Hilarion in Theogenesis tells us about it. We can apply this threefold, the three keys by Roerich. These three great keys are stored not on other planets, not in other star worlds, but in oneself. Their names are love, beauty, and knowledge. Love, life and love are a powerful force, thanks to which everything exists in the universe. Love is the power that rules the world. Everything that's done for its sake has the power of the universal law. Only with love for everything can you defeat evil. Bring love wherever you go. You will soon understand how she will help you in all your ways. Be pure and let love flow through you. Your life becomes the ray of happiness. Once it becomes transparent, the ray should become light. It is the white ray that cannot be changed because it is the transparent light. And only then everything is the light, the darkness, the heat, the cold, the good, evil, God and the devil in general, everything imaginable, there are thoughts that find themselves inside the mind. It is the white light in all imaginable colors and sensations, that is, to those whom we have already forgotten how to recognize in our neighbor, who loves us all as himself. The names of the three are love, Swabhavat, beauty, the root of the world, Devamatri, and knowledge, builders. For a while they rested in the depth of non-existence, but a cycle will come when they begin to manifest again, and it depends on a person to preserve the transparency of each of them. The key point of Shloka 1 is to preserve the transparency of each of those notions. Shloka 2: where was silence? Where the ears to sense it? No, there was neither silence nor sound, naught save ceaseless eternal breath, which knows itself not. According to the planes of being, we can consider each of these concepts of silence, the planes of God, the absolute divine mind, the second plane of the spirit outside the forms, the plane of prototypes where Akasha reigns, where the sound arises, and hearing, the plane of matter and creativity, which will appear much later, as well as a feeling capable of hearing this sound. There was neither sound nor silence. There was no silence, for there was no sound and no ears to sense it. There was nothing but an indestructible eternal breath that did not know itself. That is, the universe was in a slumber to waken or reappear when the dawn of a new Manvantara calls it to what we call existence. There was one eternal breath. It is indestructible since it never stops. It begins as the breath of the Absolute. It becomes a divine breath that gives an impulse to the vibration of sound. There is a sound, a word, hearing, speech, and then it becomes able to hear this whole variety of sound. After the absolute breath became divine and gave an impulse, it returns again to the absolute. Cosmogony goes the way. Therefore, infinity cannot understand finiteness, since continuity is not interrupted by anything and never. The breath of the one existence is continuous. And the spiritual aspect of cosmogony is the breath of one existence, and the material aspect of cosmogony is movement. Infinity cannot be related to the limited and conditional. It does not know itself because there has not yet been a consciousness or an object that could divide this one continuous unmanifested breath into an in-breath and an out-breath manifested to divide infinity. A single eternal element or container containing an element is a space beyond dimensions in all senses, coexisting with which are infinite duration, primordial, hence indestructible matter, and motion, the absolute, incessant motion, which is the breath of a single element. So we can identify three key points of stanza 2, shloka 2. Infinite duration that coexists with space and primordial indestructible matter, then a single eternal element, space beyond dimensions, and the third one is the incessant movement. It is the breath of a single element, absolute movement. Breathing never stops, even during the eternities of pralay. The first has its own reflection or connection and merges with 2 and 3. The second merges into 1 and 3. The third merges into 1 and 2, and all three are one. In a further combination, potentially creating new forms of their non-form. All substances of new elements are consequences of numerous variants of interaction or combination of these new elements. Every person has the power to provide true knowledge for themselves, the power of perceiving the truth, allowing to comprehend the universal, eternal on their own experience, relying on spiritual inner strength. A person can safely move from the universal to the particular without fear of going astray. What gives you the strength not to go astray? What is this power of perceiving the truth? In Sanskrit, there is the word Satyagraha. It means to hold on to the truth or the power of truth. Satyagraha is the ability to grasp the truth and hold it. And we move back to Tian stanza. Helena Petrovna tells us about the voice of silence, the inviolability of the eternal breath is the continuity of the unceasing eternal movement of the manifested. We need to hear this voice of silence first. There is a constructive concept that where this voice of silence that is manifested can be located. These are the bodies or the forms of the sound, the forms of the consciousness, and those of the movement. Let's look at how we can identify this sevenfold.
The first symbol of Saturn is our physical body, the manifested body. The first is like the sweet voice of a nightingale singing a farewell song to his girlfriend of Faith. Helena Petrovna writes in the comments that this is Faith. We must say goodbye to Faith on the 10th plane in this Saturn. Why? Because we have to look forward, to go forward. If we go forward, we are met by the second sound, which sounds like a silver symbol of unearthly spirit, awakened in the twinkling of the stars, which is moon. The moon is an astral body, and the twinkling stars here a silver symbol of an extraterrestrial spirit. The third is like the melodic complaint of the spirit of the ocean trapped in this shell. It's the vigilance of the soul. It's the sun. It keeps the soul, keeps the shell. And this is the point of the inner voice of silence in this shell. The sun is the esoteric double of the soul and the human consciousness. The fourth is followed by the singing of a lute or Jupiter. It is the lower manus, and we understand that by concentrating our mind low manus, we'll hear the singing of a lute. Number five, penetrate here like the sound of a bamboo flute, the attainment of wisdom. Venus, the combination of the fifth and sixth principles. This is the higher principle, the where the sixth goes into Mercury, or Buddhi, or trumpet sound. It is the divine sound which calls us to follow. It is the calling for development. And the last one will absorb all other sounds. It is the symbol of Mars. All other sounds die and will no longer be heard. It is the sound of a thunderstorm. You see, all the tonalities of all sounds correspond to seven notes of seven keynotes. The astral body, the double higher and lower manus, and when we go from the higher plane to the lower plane, when Atma becomes the first Buddhi number two, and the higher lower manus, esoteric double, and astral body, and everything goes back to the physical state. This is the law of beauty. In this aspect, when everything gets together, it starts to sound. And then we have this voice of silence when everything gets dissolved. Hence, where was silence? Where were the ears to sense it? No, there was neither silence nor sound. Note says, ceaseless eternal breath which knows self not. This is the note of this sloka. The sounds got dissolved. We cannot hear them anymore. When it happens, Yelena Ivanovna says that all your personality uh, is won over by the teacher. The voice merges with the voice of the teacher and starts to vibrate with the voice of the teacher. The basic conclusion of this sloka is the shining of the truth in the silence. Yelena Ivanovna writes a certain kind of prayer to this shine of the silence. In the name of Christ, in the name of Buddha, in the name of Maitreya, in the name of Muhammad, in the name of Solomon, in the name of the great teachers and prophets, in the name of brotherhood of the earthly and heavenly, accept that you want not for harm or murder, but for the comprehension of light. I wash my spirit with the miracle of a feet and accept the radiance of truth. Silence. This is the finalization of the second stanza, second sloka. Sloka 3. The hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Matripadma had not yet swollen. The key point is the hour. This is something that Zion starts with. What is an hour? Of course, we're not talking about our time. Usually it is a unit of time, usually considered 1/24 days. It is 60 minutes or 300 seconds. A 1/24 is 1 and 6, 7 raised symbol, which means that 60 or 6 in 3,600 or 9. So we have 9 and 6, where 9 is the movement of spirit and matter, and 6 is movement of matter and spirit. As a sound, we have 6, 15, 1 and 5 and 6, symbol of Matripadma, and we can read about it in the comments to the sloka. Hence, we've got sixth plus seventh state and got 13, which is 4. On the dial, this is the arrow corresponding to the number 12, which is the countdown of every hour. If we sum 12, we got 3, and we know that 3 is the symbol of dot or term. Hence, the fourth state, which got due to the seventh fold from the previous slide, we sum it with the charm and we got 7. So we can assume that the hour hadn't yet struck, which means there was no seventh fold. There was no movement of spirit and matter, no 6 or 9. There was no 13 or 4. The movement of the reported 12, the dial arrow, of which hour are a combination of 12, which means 24 or 6. Again, we've got Matripadma or eternal egg bosom of the universe, which will become periodic when the ray of the logos flashes this latent germ in Matripadma. So the key point, there was no time, the hour had not yet struck. There was no point, the germ, ray in Matripadma. Therefore, it hadn't yet swollen. So the hour is a symbol of the three components of the point, germ, ray, and Matripadma. The point is the circle, or the unmanifested logos. The triangle is manifested logos. The monad never manifests, according to Pythagoras. It lives in seclusion. But when the hour strikes, it emits from itself one, the first number. In the process of descending, this number turns into 2, then turns into 3, forming a triangle, the first completed geometric figure. The key point of the third sloka. This is the ideal or abstract triangle, is the point in the mundane egg, which after maturation period comes out of the egg and then it will form a real triangle, which means the third sloka corresponds to the potential third stage of appearance or exit from the point of the triangle. By what? Let us have a look how it happens. The first logos or potentiality or undisclosed reason. Second logos is still a hidden thought. And third logos, demiurge or active willpower that becomes a cause at a lower level, which means that eternal darkness, as part of Brahman, or even the Logos, can only see Mula Prakriti, but is unable to look behind this curtain, which means that the circle level, black surface, yet the dot is potentially white. And this point is the first connection available to our mind with the invisible logos. So, three key points that we will consider today at, are the point or term, ray, and Matripadma. There is a notion that point is a channel that goes into infinity. The point is the center and source of life, the symbol of primary creative energy, so concentrated that it can only be reflected by something immaterial. The symbolism of the point as an extremely compressed energy is extremely close to modern physical and astronomical theories about the origin of the universe. Everything, any phenomenon begins with a point. It underlies all dimensions, generates a line, in its development, serves at the center and support of the cross and circle, being itself immutable and immobile, it generates movement, for example, the rotation of a wheel. This is the center of the human self. Having reached the central point, the sage reaches the heart, peace, or divine presence. Then this center of the human self starts moving. It is the heart of a man and the heart of God, and they are one. Therefore, when the sage reaches the heart, the divine supreme presence touches them. Let us consider the main meanings of the point. It is the center, it is the beginning of countdown, primary point, the unmanifested one that forms the threefold, the symbol of the beginning, middle, and end, respectively, the three elements of the mystical syllable Aum, which together form the letter Yod. The point and the circle tend to converge into a single point, which is the name. This union, in the process of merging the plural into the one, its deification. The point is the inevitable middle. This is why it is deified. This inevitability of the point and the unity of central point is in contrast to this circumference of the wheel of samsara, as you can see on the slide. So we can talk about the darkness, which is eternal, and the ray, which is periodic. And having escaped from the central point and pursues the germ, the ray is drawn back to the starting point, and the germ develops into the second logos, a triangle inside the mundane egg. Further on, seven rays emanate from the manifested logos, and then countless hierarchies occur from these rays. The abstract form of the asexual ray is the first manifestation of the emanating from the central point. Here, according to the planes of existence, we can consider where the ray is, where the germ is, and we can see the third logos, which is third unmanifested and first manifested at the same time, and the all seven rayfold system. What is the ray? The ray is potentiality of both genders, female and male, but this will be when the ray falls into matter and becomes a square, or the first attractors. The mundane egg, when descended, it is not matter, strictly speaking, it is an atom. It is its first stage of manifestation, which is undifferentiated primary matter in which the life-giving embryo will receive its first spiritual impulse. Thus, potentiality becomes reality. Material form can be then destroyed. The atom is not destructible, like the first divine unit. The center of a circle, which does not have a circumference, is located everywhere, like the germ. The germ, as we know, is all non-manifested nature or creative force that must manifest. Hindus call it Brahman. We understand that there is Matripadma, an eternal egg, and it will become periodic when the ray of the first logos pierces or flashes this latent germ in the Matripadma, which is the egg, a kind of bosom of the universe. Hence, we can define Matripadma, where Mar is the symbol of water, Tri is a symbol of triangle, Padma is a symbol of lotus. The whole idea of a triangle with both is its reflection, and all this is on the lotus. This is why the hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Matripadma had not yet swollen. Let the hour not strike, wait without getting tired. Let the liars lie, don't consent to them. Be able to forgive, and do not seem forgiving, more generous and wiser than others. The final point finishing the third sloka. When the hour strikes, then the higher truth will win over in this first sound of the voice or bell. We move to the fourth sloka. Your heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall as three into four into the lap of Maya. The heart of Matripadma hadn't yet opened, because it was not yet touched by a single ray. The space itself hadn't become susceptible to the behetic imprint of the divine thought. Logos, or the male aspect of the anima mundi, world soul, or alaya. When the hour strikes, then your heart will open. What does it mean? How does this happen? We can suppose that in the beginning, the space of Matripadma should become accessible to the sprint of divine thought of a hetic prince, as we call it. It should reach full balance, which is expressed in reverence. Then, in a state of equilibrium, it is ready to accept a single ray that reaches the heart, or the fourth state of the germ. Then the inner potency of the life force becomes the first form of the unformed. As soon as this happens, then the heart throws down this ray that differentiates it into the bowels of Maya, 3 into 4, and this is the sevenfold light of the single ray. Before the moment of disequilibrium, the partial pralaya is completed and the dawn of Manvantara is awakened. The partial pralaya, the third sun, and this point when they became one single period, the great balance comes, and then Machipadma becomes susceptible to this imprint of divine thought. After all, the germ is eternal, and it is three. When the unique ray touches it, it becomes four. The germ from potentiality becomes the force of life, the heart of Machipadma. This is something the ray touches, and this is it is open and accepts the ray and gives it away or throws it down. Already the sevenfold light. Then differentiation begins. It differentiates three, father, mother, and son, and they turn into four. The union of these three principles depends on the fourth, life, which radiates from the peaks of unattainable to become diffused in all substance, in all manifested planes of existence. This is a brief description of the event. And now we'll try to understand some of the key points and concepts that Yelena Petrovna Blavatsky provides us with. So, the key point. The first sloka is the description of the fourth state of the germ, that is the heart. The fourth is the aura of the universe. Its light is the purest because it is the first subtonality of light. It is perfect and incredibly beautiful in its purity. It is unearthly beauty. There is no admixture of light reflection. That is a dense shade of color. Therefore, the aura appears white or colorless. But in this first subtonality, there is an absolutely pure first base of seven primary colors. The aura of the universe of this period has perfect primary colors, and only then their correlation will give many shades and combinations of different basic tones of the first seven. How does it happen? The triad, then it is quadrilateral or Pythagorean number, the perfect square, as Elena Petrovna Blavatsky describes, and it all goes into a hexagonal cube on the ground. This is the first trajectory of the movement of life, expressed by the geometry of rays in space when the root cause appears from the causeless cause, which corresponds to the immaculate conception. The heavenly Adam creates or gives birth through the combined power of the Sephiros of the earthly Adam. Elena Petrovna Blavatsky gives the following numbers in the comments. The measurement of men Chekhova is equal to 116 times 5, 500.
Давайте посмотрим, что находится внутри этих чисел. Двое рождает третьего. Двое, они равные, одинаковые, 1 и 1. Они рождают третьего. И этот третий есть кто? 5.
2 gives birth to 3, and there is a person 5, and it's sevenfold. Basically, 5 is a person. It is a symbol of man, symbol of manas. This man is sevenfold. 565, or there is a gradation that you can see on the slide, 56.5 times 10, and we have 11 and 5, two principles in man. In the movement of the cross are the birth of the third, or 10, which means ray. It turns out that there is form and not a form, there is external and internal. There is a combination of these and the birth of a force of movement or manifestation. As soon as the three merge into a single state, this ready state is ready to manifest to a force or form. The forms conceivable as members of the whole, the sephiros from the form of a perfect being, the original man, or Adam Kadmon. It's not a secret that there is a correspondence of the individual sephirot with the outer parts of the human body. Keter, forehead, Chokhmah and Bina, 2 eyes, Chesed and Gwirna, 2 hands, Tiferet, chest, Netzach and Hod, hips, Yesod and Malkut, 2 legs. As you can see, according to the planes of existence, let's have a look. If Earth is Malkut and 7 plus 4 makes 11, or 2 legs, or X, which means the spiritual cross, the inner part of equal. This is 3 fall into 4. This formula of movement is as macrocosm becomes microcosm, or deity manifests through 10 separate states, 2 units or 3 twos. This is the manifestum we have. The sephirots of the higher triad, Keter, or crown, or Chokhmah, wisdom, or male principle, or right shoulder, and Bina, mind, or female principle, or left shoulder. It can be correlated to Atma, Buddhi, Manas. Let's have a look at the planes of existence, how they manifest. Because the deity manifests through 10 sephirots, decade, 4 units, and 3 twos. That is 3 fall into 4. 3 and 4 is septenary, or ray symbolizing movement of logos. This is a transition of the form of the movement of life. Movement 3 and 4 takes place on every plane of existence, revealing the sevenfold nature of each plane. As soon as the sevenfold of each individual plane is collected, the next plane appears. The plane of spirit beyond forms, the plane of prototypes, the plane of mind, of creativity, the subtle and physical plane. This is it. As soon as sevenfold accomplishes, we move to the next one. Elena Petrovna in the comments mentions the Pythagorean triangle as an expression of this idea of 3 fall into 4. Let's look at the variants of this idea. The Pythagorean triangle corresponds to the planes of beings 3 fall into 4. Each of the sides of the triangle 3 fall into 4. Each corner of the triangle 3 fall into 4. This is the form of the movement of light 3 fall into 4, which means the light is the ultimate truth. It arises when the knowledge comes and the person's limited feelings disappear. The astral light, the great seducer of a person's limited senses, unless knowledge through Paramatsatya comes to his aid. There is only knowledge that can help him. What is Paramatmasatya? It is supreme truth or absolute existence. Until the knowledge of the supreme truth or absolute existence comes to the rescue, until then the astral light will be seduced of man's limited senses. The key point of this sloka is when the heart opens, only when the knowledge as the absolute existence of the supreme truth can be recognized by the higher ego, which leads to the liberation of Maya. And then the astral light ceases to be seducing as the limited feelings of a person disappear. And then the astral light shines with its pristine purity of the first sevenfold. So her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall as three into four into the lap of Maya. What does it mean? The heart of Matripadma had not yet opened because a single sevenfold ray had not penetrated the germ. But when the ray pierces the germ will bring down the power of creative power or sevenfold, life-giving force into the lap of Maya. This is the finalizing moment of the fourth sloka.
Sloka 5. The seven have not yet been born from the fabric of light. The one darkness was the father, mother, Swabhavat, and the Swabhavat was in the darkness. In the beginning there was darkness. When space changes its structure, fabric and light will appear. That is a denser state, which will be able to manifest the first force of the impulse and the manifestation of the first seven. What is the state of space that has not yet become a fabric of light? The state of a single darkness, when there was a single state of the first two, father and mother, or spirit and matter, that is, the spirit did not separate and did not begin its movement. If the spirit is the completion of mother, then in this cycle there has not yet been a complete completion of matter. The pralaya lasted, and the fabric or the state of space was not yet ready to give the first impulse to the movement of light. That is, the light was still in darkness. There was no reflection of light, no refraction, no correlation. That is, the tissue was still in the process of being created. As soon as the fabric acquires an ideal structural surface, then the first reflection of light will be possible, and it will be complete or perfect. The movement and aspiration of fire lies in the principle of light. Nothing will outstrip the light, for it is supported by jets of omnipresent fire. Only absolute darkness merges with darkness, and absolute light merges with light. The distance between them is so great that it is measured by the concepts of absolute non-existence and absolute being. And somewhere between these two poles is a man. His goal is to gather the light within himself in order to enter and merge into the absolute light. All thoughts, feelings, and moods of a person are closely connected with light and its color scale. There are thoughts and feelings and moods of gold, pink, silver, brown, gray, red, and black. Black thoughts or feelings of hatred do not give light. The irresponsibility inherent in people leads to the disfigurement of space with gray, black, blood red. People are responsible for the cleanliness and beauty of the space and its best purifier and we can see the major colors on the rainbow. What connects the state of a person's consciousness or his expression of thought with the radiation of light? They are human eyes. It is known that the color of a person's eyes does not change all his incarnations. The color of the eyes, namely the shade of the iris of a person, determines his character, an organ that has the ability to perceive electromagnetic radiation in the light wavelength range and provides the functions of vision. There is a retina inside the eye. It is on it that the image is projected, as on a film in a camera. It consists of photoreceptors and nerve cells. The data received by the retina is transmitted via the optic nerve to the brain, where the picture we see is already being formed. So the key point is that the fabric of light is like the retina of the eye, capable of radiating and seeing at the same time. The retina is the inner shell of the eye, which is the peripheral part of the visual analyzer. It contains photoreceptor cells that provide perception and conversion of electromagnetic radiation from the visible part of the spectrum into nerve impulses, and also provides their primary processing. Let's look at the structure of the human retina. The retina of an adult has a diameter of 22 millimeters. It covers about 72% of the area of the inner surface of the eyeball. 22 is 4, form of internal state. 7 plus 2 is 9, its spiritualization of the form. 7 multiplied by 2 is 14, 2 septenaries, a full circle connecting the inner and outer. 14 is 5, 5 is pentagram, symbol of a man. 5 principle, the highest manas or mind, or a reasonable person. The retina of the eye is the expression of Homo sapiens radiating and having the ability to see at the same time, which corresponds to the state of space of the fabric of light of the universe. The retina becomes iridescent. In the central part of the spot in the area of the fossa, the cones have minimal dimensions and are mosaically arranged in the form of hexagonal structures. Hexagonal structure is the symbol of Tetragrammaton. It's the heart symbol. The sun is the heart of the system, and the human heart is also the sun of the body. There are many sun's hearts, and the universe represents a system of hearts. Therefore, the cult of light is the cult of the heart. To understand this abstractly means to leave the heart in the cold. But as soon as the light of the sun heart becomes life, the need for the warmth of the magnet will shine like a true sun. It is said, cross Santana's heart. Santana is the flow of individual life as a category of concepts of propagation, expansion, connection, flow, instantaneous dharmas of states, each of which is caused by the disappearance of the previous one and causes the emergence of the next one. Thus, you can warm the concept of the heart. You can consider the rhythm of the heart as the rhythm of life. It is known that Pythagoras could look at the sun without squinting. That is, he had the greatest heart. His retina, as a conductor of the heart centers, merged into a single manifestation of the sun ray from the fabric of spatial light. The sunbeam, or sevenfold light, the fifth sloka of the second stanza. 5 plus 2 equals 7. 7 have not been born yet from the fabric of light. Seven suns are the creators of the planetary chain of the universe. Swabhavat is a sculptural entity that fills the universe. Swabhavat number is the universe in the totality of souls in its composition. Swabhavat numbers 1 and 9. 1 is the one spirit, and 9 is 3 and 6. 3 are 3 primary colors or 3 planes of the spirit beyond forms. A ray is a ray of light of the spirit passing through souls and animating them. The fabric of light is the spirit that fills the space. 7 is the 7 rays. The radiant nature of the 7, inside 7th its size. 7 outside at the same time manifest and logos or movement appears. Logos manifested is potentiality, unmanifested cause. The first logos is impersonal, it's unmanifested. The second logos is manifested, it is a latent thought. It's Demiurge, the creative logos. And the third logos, the material and educational plane, it's the cosmic numen of matter, the cosmic universal soul, the basis of intelligent manifestations of nature and in nature. It's also called Mahabuddhi. In this stage, there is also Demiurge, or builder, the divine force that built the universe. There's also the demiurgic mind. It's the universal mind, the first creation of Brahma, or himself. Atma is concentrated in Buddhi, but embodied only in Manas. They are the spirit, soul, and body of the universe. The area of the circle is black. The dot in the circle is potentially white, flashing into the germ. The beam is drawn back inside this point, and the germ develops into the second logos, a triangle inside the mundane egg. Potential point stage 1. The second is stage 2. The third is stage 3. The third logos unmanifested, or the first one manifested, 7 rays. We have a period, a line or 2. The line passes into the surface forming 3 tetractors, tetrad or 4 if you put a dot under it. Then a square becomes a cube. This is the cosmogony in geometry. The surface of the cube consists of 6 squares, and the unfolded cube forms a cross in which the vertical line includes 4 squares and the horizontal one includes 3, as a result of which 6 faces give us the number 7. 7 principles, or 7 Pythagorean properties of man. In other words, the logos becomes a tetragrammaton. A triangle or a tripod turns into 4. Vertical vertical 4 intersected with horizontal 3. Thus 6 cube forms 7 is expanded cube, 7 principles, 3 falls into 4, and these 3 are spirit, will, and mind, animating the 4 lower principles. A square becomes a cube when each of the vertices of the triangle doubles, dividing into male and female aspects. The Pythagoreans said, once a unit, then twice 2, and hence a tetrad, which with the same highest unit at the top. It turns out a pyramid with a base having a tetrad in the plan. The divine light descending on it creates an abstract cube. The six-pointed star, the 7 suns, are the creators of the universe. Man in several systems was considered as the third logos. The logos is Demiurge, the creator of logos, the Mahat or mind, the builder, the divine force that built the universe. The person who has intelligence or creative power that builds his consciousness or brings awareness of the light closer becomes a true creation of Brahma. 7 have not yet been born from the fabric of light. The darkness was one father, mother, Swabhavat, and Swabhavat was in darkness. There was no third logos, sevenfold in its sense, the prototype of Manas of man. Stanza 2, Sloka 6. These two are the germ, and the germ is one. The universe was still concealed in the divine thought and the divine bosom. And the beginning of cosmic evolution, the universe or the sun still lies hidden in the divine thought, which has not yet penetrated into the divine bosom. When we identify the cause, we can understand the consequences. The divine bosom is the place of development of the universe. The thought is the ray, sun movement, the merging of father and mother. She has to give birth to herself, to manifest, to begin, to start moving in the space of the bosom. The circle is the divine thought, a symbol of a circle or a closed space. What is closed is not manifested and latent. The divine thought must separate the circle or manifest itself, or become the penetrating ray, but it passes gradually in its period of pralaya. 7 covers of matter or mother pass to reach the germ or the one. 7 stages, 7 covers, 7 periods, 7 cycles from concealment or full circle to its manifestation as a ray exist. The key point of Sloka 6. As a matter of fact, this is the immaculate conception or transformation from a single fusion circle to the power of manifestation of the ray of the one. Ray in a circle, which corresponds to I. Immaculate conception means a person illuminated when a person meets his higher self and begins conscious actions. That is, the second life comes into place, 2 lives, 1 physical, and the second, when the Immaculate Conception took place, the person became spiritual, or felt and realized his spiritual nature. He gave birth to himself. Therefore, this Immaculate Conception is a state that anticipates the beginning of the ascent. That is, man, after realizing himself as the whole of humanity, can begin to ascend. This is the understanding of unity or brotherhood. In symbolism and sacred geometry, the 6th sloka corresponds to the Tetragrammaton, and this is the last sloka of the stanza 2, which gives an understanding of the state before differentiation, and the third state for the sun to mental breathing or the creation of the universe. The Tetragrammaton, when the groom comes to the bride on earth, he becomes humanity, and all 7 sephiroths must be passed, and as they pass, the Tetragrammaton becomes more material. The Tetractys of Pythagoras is the Tetractys of the invisible monad, which creates a 1 point, the second, the third, and then returning to the darkness, eternal silence, or the voice of silence. Tetractys is logos 1. He represents the lowest 4 of physical or material person. These 2 are mother and father. Stanza 2 is the mother space. Her description, stanza 2, is the father, his description, and stanza 3 is the sun, the description of all transformations according to the energy of the sun of the universe, light. Non-differentiated primary matter has not yet been fertilized by any influences in space and time, but the quality of fertility is already inherent in it initially. What is radiated or born due to the presence of its natural property is not born, in the full sense of a word, by primary matter, but simply begins to exist through its medium. This property and quality is the only reason that this or that thing begins to manifest itself in its carriers, whereas at the physical level, matter is no longer an active cause, but a passive means, an instrument used by an independent cause. So it's the full reflection. Primary matter, after full reflection, is not active but passive. It transmits activity to the carrier, its full reflection. So is the teacher and his disciple. If he has his full reflection, and this happens when the teaching is completely likened to the supreme or teacher, and transmits his activity through him, remaining alone on his own plane. The disciple was born not by him but through him. This corresponds to the movement of the great breath. The great breath permeates space, which thus remains limitlessly in eternity and does not come out of it. When there is a birth, not by the mother matter, but through her, that is the influence. This is the immaculate conception. So a person has a rebirth, a spiritual one, with a full reflection of the higher self. Then it begins to manifest through a person, through the light. In other words, the sun, or the ability to penetrate through a single ray, is born by the truth. In this period, there was no separation, since the sun has not yet been born. There is a complete reflection. We are in a period of precarious conception of the universe. For the man, it means to return to his true higher self, to merge with him. It means to give the true form to his own body through the unification of all bodies and become a lighter carrier. Sloka 6 completes stanza 2, just the complete fusion of one, mother, and two, father, into a single embryo for the manifestation of three, son, or stanza 3. Three causes will give the power of manifestation when the germ, in its full reflection of the supreme, the fusion of two, father and mother, will give the power of manifestation of the next more material cause, the Tetragrammaton symbol. Sloka 6, the germ is 1, 6, or Tetragrammaton, the four-letter unpronounceable name of God. The Tetragrammaton is obtained by combining the forms, the third person singular for the past, present, and future sense. The approximate meaning of the Tetragrammaton is he was, is, and will be. Some scientists offer a translation. He is alive. I am who I am. God said to Moses, I am who I am. The past, he was. The present, he is alive. The future, I am who I am. These two are the germ, and the germ is one. The universe was still concealed in the divine thought of the divine bosom. The self had not yet been formed, but it was a single entity, a single number for the present, past, and future. This is a single germ. In other words, the whole second stanza is the state of the description of the divine mind, or in other words, the transparency of mind. How can we achieve the transparency of mind? This 6 slokas lay out this path before us. The transparency of mind comprises the builders of the universe. It's sloka 1. They should give the form from the non-form. 2, the ceaseless breath. It's the silence that has no sound. Without sound, it does not know itself. It's the ceaseless breath. 3, the single ray. It's the major part of sloka 3. The ray had not yet flashed into the germ. The Matripadma had not yet swollen for the heart. The heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, but it will once it will be able to to make 3 fall into 4 into the lap of Maya. 5, the web of light. The 7 signs were not yet born from the web of light. And 6, the divine thought. These 2 are the germ, and the germ is one. The universe was still concealed in the divine thought and the divine bosom. That is how this review is made. Thank you so much for being able to stay with us.
So when we understand that all six main components, powers of the property which will let the man achieve the transparency of mind and he will become God. This is the main concept of the whole second stanza, which explains in great detail that we have tried to analyze today all this sequence and concept, how we see how the divine mind concept gets stronger in man till the time comes and the event occurs. Dear friends, thank you very much for being with us and being so concentrated and attentive. We've got some questions in our Q&A section, and one of the questions is the following. Let us try to answer the questions now online. And thank you very much for your activity, for your questions. In the sixth sloka, it is said that the universe is the divine thought reflected according to the first and second cause. Why in the second stanza it is told about reflection in the manifested cause? Vladimir Vasilyevich, could you clarify? It is the potentiality of the forces being formed for this aim. The question is, according to the text of the last sloka, Brahma, the aspect of male and female, and anthropomorphic reflection of Brahman, the perception of blind faith, which is rejected by the human mind, which achieved its maturity. Why it is rejected? Is it rejected by mind? What is it? Well, first of all, of course, the sense of knowledge is already been reflected by mindfulness. And this is why the faith has become mindful. And spontaneous faith is just nature, which is not aware. Yet when it achieves awareness, it becomes mindful and reasonable. And Elena Petrovna comments, saying that this is the description of prologue, the drama of creation, when the universe or sun is still concealed in the divine thought and divine bosom. The question is, why in different stanzas there are different number of slokas? Well, it depends on what the stanza tells about. For example, the first stanza, there are 9 slokas, and it tells about the first stanza. It tells about the impetus to all that exists. And in this real impetus, the whole potentiality of the future manifestation develops, of future carriers, those upadhi, all those upadhi, or readiness to all upadhi, to all kinds of upadhi. And in the second, there are 6 slokas because it is about the nature of the mind. It's 6 directions of space where different divine powers develop the properties of mind. So the number of slokas corresponds to the program's evolutionary process. Every stanza describes a definite period, and this period is always different because it is about evolution. You start somewhere, it continues, it forms something. The states are different. That's why the number of slokas is different. And every number of slokas has so symbolism that corresponds to the period being described. and according to the question, is correspondence of periods the end of manifestation and the beginning of manifestation that we have been talking about Manvantara in July, and how does it happen in a human being, or does it happen at all? How can we apply it to our life, as far as I understood the question? Well, in the human being, it happens as follows. Usually we don't know something. It means we are in the illusion, in our ignorance. Yet when we get aware, this process is called cognition of non-existence. As existence and non-existence become for us an evidence for those who got enlightened, the man becomes creator. They unite earth and heaven. This is the role of the man. He achieved this state. We can also comment here that those periods, the beginning and completion, can correspond karmically as karma during the first and last quarter of the circle does not act, is not efficient. The state of the universe in this period is not subject to karma. The first and the last quarters of the circle, Manvantara, it does not exist. It's very interesting to think about its correspondence and about how for the man it is possible to get to this first and last quarter so that the karma it becomes ineffective. Of course, it is the theme for another seminar, just to ponder over this question. The question, when we're talking about the first, second, and third as it merges, and the manifestation of genius. The genius, human genius, did they manifest according to the same principle? Well, if I knew, I would certainly answer the question of appearance of a genius and genius persons. Everything seems easy. I can only tell one thing. In this case, we need to reach the bottom. When you reach the bottom, you can start forming and manifesting this genius from yourself. Then you reach the power, the aspiration, because you cannot live through illusion anymore. You need enlightenment. And I thought that in this description, there is a certain kind of perfect synthesis. And when this perfect synthesis occurs in the human being, also when he can unite these three worlds, three states, when Atma Buddhamanas merges in one, then the human genius opens, reveals. And I think this is completely identical as above, so below, as we have a description of the universe, of this genius period, the key which frees us from the fatal embrace of Maya. Those who captured it, they tried to express it in the works of art and descriptions. The question, the fire which transforms and destroys. But what exactly does it transfigures, transforms, and destroys? Well, this is the Hindu Shiva who destroys what can be destroyed in order to create the new. This is the property and the quality of this kind of fire. Its property to destroy destroyable and create new by introducing new elements to it. I would like to add about this threefold fire action. In the beginning, the transfiguration starts. Then it transforms and then it destroys. Why? In order to create the new. So the man gets transfigured by something, then it got rebuild, reconstructed, transformed, and then he has to reject it all to become new. The fire is a new space movement, new space thought. And when this happens, then the destruction is made for the sake of new. The destruction becomes birth. Today, Vladimir Vasilyevich was talking about the main property of this year, of the black hair. It is the mystery of death and birth. And this exactly corresponds to the second stanza that we've been talking about this fire, which transfigures, transforms, and destroys. It is very interesting. There is another question. To keep the transparency, or we need to keep the love, beauty, and knowledge. What does it mean? Why? What for? Transparency means purity. Transparency is primordial, higher notion. Do not lower it. How can we lower any higher notion? By the judgment, by laziness, by certain manifestations of our lower nature. What we're talking about in the very beginning, the power which can fly over the events of the life of any man, then transparency, then the plasticity, the flexibility, then there is the light. The person gets light, weightless, liberated from the lap of Maya. Keeping our transparency means having the movement and getting free from Maya by our aspiration to the spiritual, to the pure, to the eternal, to the divine. I would like to add that this transparency, as a matter of fact, manifests by our sincerity. A sincere person is a transparent person. The question, the point is the channel to the eternity and limitless. What is this point in the man? The point in the man is his Atma. Atman is the point in human being. Imagine, it's like aura, but it is a point, it is a dot. And the highest spirit, when they see the person as an egg, they see this his aura. This is the point which depends on human beings' consciousness growth, its evolution. He should unite with all his powers, knowledge, and skills to unite with this aura and become the carrier of this transparency, because the aura, when it gets born or reborn by the immaculate conception, it is transparent, and then man becomes transparent when he merges, when he unites with this transparency. This is the analogy. A question about aspiration of the fire. Our listener writes that you told it isn't the principle of light, but what is principle of light? What is principle of light? Well, this is a good question. And I thought that the principle of light, the aspiration of fire, lies in his higher primordial state, its principle or its next state of light. It's color, because light becomes color, gradation of color. Thank you very much for your questions. We are getting to the end of our online class, so maybe we'll have time to answer just one more question, and we will certainly answer all your questions in our quiz and our newsletters. And so please stay tuned and share your feedback. The question. The main key idea of the second stanza, as you mentioned, it is the transparency of mind. But when does it occur, the transparency of mind? The transparency of mind, it is a very interesting state of the person. as a category in its absoluteness of the mind, which corresponds to the sixth sloka, second stanza. The essence of this mind as a carrier. And when it's pure, the carrier of what exactly? The carrier of reason and forces. These properties as understanding, comprehension, understanding, perception. Of course, all these properties need transparency because with the pure mind, you can go through walls, all your senses, all your feelings, which is called by the eye of Dankmar. The property is to pierce, to look through. These are properties of mind. You are from illusion or Maya. This is the properties of this mind. I would like to share one more thought about the transparency of mind. The transparency of mind is achieved when we can anticipate and bypass the karma. It cannot reach to us. How? By improving our thoughts and our impulses. As soon as we improve our thoughts and impulses, we achieve this property of the transparency of mind and we get unattainable by karma. So let us get to some conclusions of our seminar today. It was not easy. Thank you very much for staying tuned, staying with us till the end. Thanks for asking questions. It means that it was interesting for you. I guess there were many thoughts expressed that gives us a reason for pondering even further. And the conceptuality is that the thoughts improved and impetus improved lead us to the transparency of mind. Since the evolution of the man started, we can say that thoughts create the inner essence. They stay in our jar, they stay in our aura. And if these thoughts are are light, are full of divine thoughts, they attract the similar. And then anything lower, anything evil cannot touch us. There is an idea in the teaching that if they are purified by the fire, transfiguration, transfigurated the inner essence, and the thoughts create this inner essence. When we achieve this state, we become the masters of karma. And this idea is very interesting. And all the questions got together, how to merge, how to unite, how to manifest it. And as it occurs that the first stanza describes this fire, the primordial fire and spirit, and the second stanza is the light of this spirit. It gives this veil and the ability to pierce it. The veil is the heart. We always talk about the heart of Matripadma in the stanza. It has certain veil, and this veil is love. The second stanza, this divine light, this transparency of mind, is the property that will give this light till the end of the Capricorn sector that will manifest the promised land. This veil is love. Because if the heart is only veiled by love, only then it unites us, it links us to the higher powers. This is the purest prayer. And another thought is that the second stanza teaches men to the real, true prayer. We should learn how to follow this path, how to pray, because only the heart, only veiled by love, unites us with the higher world. And as Elena Petrovna explained, this heart is Tetragrammaton, or the veil of love, which unites us with the higher worlds. May I just say a couple of words? Here there is a thought that the second stanza, as a matter of fact, it is said about the properties of mind, absolute mind. Yet we see that it is being told about hierarchy, and it's limitless. And of course, the heart is opened by love. The nature is opened by love. The love towards what? Towards the hierarchy of light. This is when the light opens the heart. And we should understand it for ourselves. That hierarchical principle is the first thing that we should accept and comprehend, the hierarchical principle. Then we can tell about the bouts, one of parameter. We will be able, in other words, to venerate, to worship the higher powers, which are also our properties. But by venerating the higher powers, we can reveal them in ourselves, these properties of mind. And this light that it is so beautifully told about in all slokas, the description of light, this veil of love which covers the heart. This is something that keeps this equilibrium and teaches us to higher or lie over the events, to be higher than the events of our nature. This is how this transparency has a penetrating power. The transparency of mind, this property of the divine thought, which the second stanza tells about, will provide continuity to the sun of the universe. And the third stanza will begin. First sloka. Next online class will be devoted to it in March, but we will meet on the 25th of February at international scientific research seminars. We have already started studying the third stanza, which is composed of 12 slokas. We also have an event on the 22nd of February. As you know, that International Scientific Research Center, Elena Petrovna Blavatsky by name, is opened, and the director of it, Professor Sergei Pavlovich Shubkin, will lead the seminar on the 22nd of February. Please stay tuned, connect. We stay together all the time. Let's stay together. Thank you, everyone who attended the seminar, who helped to organize it, and who worked today so dynamically. More than 2 hours. Heart warm welcome to everybody. We will be with you till the next time. See you on the 25th of February on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Moscow time. Light and love, be blessed, dear friends.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew.